have our full crew coming in today with us. I have Parlay Pete and Major Parlay today. But before I get to them, let's talk about practice. Allen Iverson made the word practice so significant in our culture. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. But here's the thing about practice. Practice makes permanent. Practice builds skills. Practice builds muscle memory. You need to practice in order to play the game. And if you've not learned anything from Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. But in order to win the game, you actually have to practice playing. And in today's NFL, we're seeing less and less practice. Starters not playing in preseason. A lot of big name players not practicing. Less off-season stuff. More players sitting out of the team off-season workouts. And I think it showed. You see that the Baltimore Ravens have lost, 4 or 5 players to ACLs. You see that Aaron Rodgers looked like Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston looked like Aaron Rodgers. You see the Falcons. I still don't know if they showed up. I mean, it seemed like when they ran out of catfish at the game, it was the same time we ran out of offense. And that was before halftime. And I understand that you don't want to practice your guys too hard. You don't want to lose a player to a preseason injury to a game that doesn't count. But when you listen to a lot of the old school players, the Hall of Fame players, the Tony Gonzalez's of the world, the Shannon Sharps of the world, even Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, who's still at it, they want to get in the preseason just so they can get their feet wet a little bit, work out some timing, work out the kinks and stuff in a game type environment before they're playing a full speed game and expected to be their best selves. So when we think about avoiding the practice because we care about the game, and this applies to us in life, preparation is so important. If you don't properly prepare yourself for the things that you have coming up, you're probably going to end up hurt. So let me bring in Parlay Pete, Major Parlay. What's up, guys?
What's happening?
Hey. It's good to be back for week 2.
Happy to have
Good
you
to
guys
be here for the first time.
Yeah, let's introduce Major Parlay. He's our other co-host for our football show on Thursdays.
Glad to be here. Hopefully do better than last week.
Guys. Where do you want to begin with week 1? Because it was one of the, 10 underdogs won this week?
10 underdogs, 12 on the spread.
Yeah.
And the overs went under and the unders went over. Simple and plain.
You can, it's crazy. You really can't make this shit up, And I think that coming into week 1, everybody knew we were going to get some surprises. It never fails. It's always going to happen.
Some.
Well, right. Okay, keyword, some. We didn't expect, pretty much all the favorites to get – and then a lot of these favorites got ran off the field at that, Obviously the Falcons, obviously the Titans. A couple of them got ran off the field. Oh, of course, Green Bay. You know what I mean? Like there were a lot of teams that got ran off the field. And I think that it kind of goes back into how you just opened up the show, practice. None of these teams, those guys didn't play. If you look at those teams that I just named, all 3 of those favorites that were blown out, 2 of them at home, and then the other one in a de facto home game because there were more Packers fans in Jacksonville than there were Saints fans, and it was a Saints home game. So I think that the practice definitely is something that, affected the game. I think that they did need some run in preseason. I mean, I get it. They're practicing hard. They do those joint camps. I think like the Falcons played the Dolphins. I'm not sure who the other 2 played, but I know that typically, they'll get together with the team on their preseason schedule and they'll play, in practice with the ones. And I don't know. It was a weird week.
Yeah, it was a weird week. But somebody could counter and say, what about the Rams? They didn't practice. They didn't play in the preseason. And Matt Stafford looked like a damn Hall of Famer.
I would tell them that they played against Andy Dalton.
Yeah,
that would be my answer to that. It's just like shit. You don't have to practice against him. Plus Aaron Donald in the defense, they were going to hold it down. Raheem Morris looked great out there. Being the DC probably made every Falcons fan wish that he was still here after what we saw. But
all right, so let's get into some big overreactions from week 1. Major Parlay, let's go over to you first. Like, what's one of your big overreactions from week 1?
Overreaction as in biggest surprise?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball so badly that he could have thrown into the dirt every single play and had a better QBR. He's reigning MVP. And now you're telling me that he could have hiked the ball every play and thrown into the dirt and did better than he did in game 1? It's just that's my biggest overreaction for sure.
Do you think he's cooked?
No, I wouldn't say he's cooked. I think any day Aaron Rodgers could turn up and do his thing. Like I said, I don't think he knows how to play from behind though. And without any practice, those being his first reps at full speed, once they hit him in the mouth, he was just he just sat down and went fetal position.
He was not on your fantasy team.
He was not on my fantasy team.
Nor was Aaron Jones. He didn't do
I got raked through the coals this week. Pi, what about one of your overreactions?
He's spot on with that one. That was definitely one of mine, but another one, and I guess because I got to see it in person.
I knew this was coming.
And no, it's actually not even about the Falcons. It's the Eagles. Don't drink the Kool-Aid of that. I think that was a product of them playing a team that has had one of the worst defenses the past 5 years that everybody knows has a bad defense. And crazy enough, the defense played better than the offense. But I think that it's an overreaction that, is Jalen Hurts and this young Eagles receiving core for real. Is Nick Sirianni the second coming of, Sean McVay? Like, all this crazy stuff that you were hearing about them because they did look impressive. I just think that it was a product of the opponent, honestly. So I would say that the biggest overreaction is that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are for real. I still see them as a 6-win team.
All right, man. So I've been wrestling with some of my overreactions, but I think I want to go with, and this might not even be an overreaction. This might be real. Josh Allen turned into Josh Allen. The clock struck 12, and Josh Allen turned back into a 59% passer who can't hit the red side of a barn or throw the ball in the ocean.
He's on my fantasy team, so it makes me better.
I can see where there's concern.
Moving between the football team and the Giants, everybody's betting Washington. There's already like 73% of money on Washington. The line just moved to -4.
Giants have more talent.
But
the Giants are probably going to win because the public.
They're starting Taylor Heineke.
Right. Well, and he played well against Brady in the playoffs. But back to the Bills. I think I think it's an overreaction that that they're going to be bad. I don't think that was a loss that could define their season or show as a trend. I mean, let's not forget the Steelers did have a top 5 defense last year, and they did start the year 11-0. Like, this was a good team, and they basically retained pretty much the same players, actually upgraded at certain positions. We know that they were like the worst 11-0 team in NFL history, but at the same time, it's still a team that's got continuity all the way around. And that's, something that teams like the Steelers, Packers have always thrived on. They, build through the draft, keep the same coaches, ride with the same quarterbacks. There's a lot of continuity in those organizations. So I think that it was a little bit of an overreaction to think if Josh Allen's, to quote you, back to being Josh Allen.
All right, so here's another one. The Dallas Cowboys are a contender.
Yeah. I say that's an overreaction. They don't have a defense. You can't be a contender without a defense.
They're going to be in a lot of shootouts, and I think that they've got the firepower to win those games. I definitely came away more impressed with the idea of them maybe winning that division.
Yeah,
that's not a good division, but you know what I mean.
The NFC, that's up for grabs, so that's fair.
It is, man. And what's his name? With Ryan Fitzpatrick, Hall of Famer, going down, and the football team having to rely on Taylor Heineke, I just don't think that they're going to be as good. But here's one thing about the Washington football team I kind of want to hit on a little bit. Maybe that defense isn't as good as we say they were. Maybe Chase, dang, what's his name? The DN? I'm going crazy here. Chase Young is not who we thought he was, because when he was lined up against Rashawn Slater, he got no sacks, no hurries, and they ended up having to move him away from Slater, who was a rookie in his first game. And if you look at Chase Young's numbers last year, they weren't great. He just looked scary with his tattoos and his dreads, and he had an amazing career at Ohio State.
He does. I mean, pressures count. You can't just because it's not a sack. It's not like he's not pressuring or hurrying the quarterback. So I'm not counting Chase Young out.
And they held a team that, I think people had high expectations for coming into the season, and Justin Herbert is that guy, but he's getting crowned early. Like a lot of people were saying, this could be a special team that, they're not going to win their division, but certainly, in the mix for the wild card. And they still held them to 20 points. So let's, with a backup quarterback playing a majority of the game. I mean, and they only lost by 4.
True. I'm just throwing some stuff out here. So what about, I think one of the most impressive teams of week 1 was the Cardinals. Kyler Murray really dropped his nuts out there. He looked absolutely amazing. That pass rush was amazing from the Cardinals. Do we think that the Cardinals are for real, or are the Colts frauds? Or again, is it just week 1?
It's just week 1. It's just week 1. We can't really even get a gauge on a team until after week 4. We got to get through. Well, what that was traditionally 25% of the season.
Yeah,
now
if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Julio and Tannehill had any reps either. So
no, they didn't. They had very few reps, which is why that was a shitstorm. But speaking of them, Vrabel has some nerve to call out Julio for that 15-yard penalty. I get that. It wasn't a winning play. I got you, Mike Vrabel. But Julio has been an upstanding NFL player his entire career. He's not one of those guys. And for you to call him out like that week 1, his first game with you, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, especially with Julio being a Falcon for so long, we've always got to see Julio here. Always been a consummate professional. I've also never really seen him do that shit either.
What I would say, did Julio say anything about it? Because when you cost your team, that's going to piss the coach off regardless. So if you're not gonna take accountability for your own actions, who's to say the coach is wrong for letting you know, like, hey, just in case you didn't think this was wrong, it's not how it goes.
He didn't have to call him out in the media though. He could have did that shit in the locker room. And I just feel like
fair point.
That was a frustration of getting your ass kicked by 25 at home with that new toy, going against a team that was coming from across the country.
Yeah, I mean, everybody
at 1 o'clock. You know what I mean? That was just frustration because now they've got to travel across the country and play Seattle, who Russ looked damn good. I mean, he always starts this way though. So,
I mean, absolutely. Yeah, that's Russ at the beginning of the year. So about the Monday night game, I enjoyed the Manning broadcast. At the beginning of the game, it was kind of choppy. They were forcing some of the jokes and stuff. You just could tell it was their first game together. But as the game progressed, man, I really enjoyed it. They brought in great guests. Who else? They had Charles Barkley in the first quarter.
Perfect person to get to.
Yeah, I mean, Barkley was great. Ray Lewis in the second quarter. And Ray was good because he brought some defensive analysis because their analysis was heavy offense and describing some things that they would look at as quarterbacks. And Ray brought a little bit of balance. Then we get Kelsey in the third quarter, who didn't know who he was playing next week. And then they closed it off with Russ. And Russ actually hung out a little bit longer than he planned. He was watching. He finished all the way through the overtime. And to have those 3 great Hall of Fame quarterbacks, although Eli shouldn't get in, to talking football, I think that it made me a smarter consumer of the sport. Not to mention that the ESPN's 3-man booth is just ear scratching. I absolutely hate it. But I enjoyed the Manning telecast. Did y'all listen to it at all?
Can't say I necessarily recall it personally.
I was switching back and forth. I know that it was an untraditional amount. I know that it was an unconventional way of kind of them having the game and their broadcast because of them being kind of at their house and stuff like that. But I did enjoy it. I mean, it's the first family of football, basically. You know what I mean? And we're talking about, for what it's worth, definitely the greatest regular season quarterback of all time, and Peyton Manning. And then you got his brother, who's 2-0 against Mr. Super Bowl himself, and so in the big game. And I did like the idea of them bringing on the guests. Like I said, I like listening to Charles Barkley talk. I don't know why. I think because he's just so authentic. It's just so great to always hear him talk, especially to bring in a basketball guy for football too. I thought that was really cool. But I was still switching back and forth. I would catch it. I didn't listen to the whole Manning broadcast for the entire game, but I was tuning in because I knew that Peyton would be great behind the mic.
Oh God, Peyton was amazing. He was throwing like little jabs at Brady every so often. It was pretty funny. And to that game though, Lamar Jackson fumbled 3 times.
Was it 3?
Yeah, he had 3 fumbles, lost 2. Given that they lost their entire running back stable, shout out to Jew. They looked better than I actually expected. I thought they would win, but some of those timing things were off with the pulls and the gives, and then also you could tell his receiving core just hadn't been healthy throughout training camp, because there were some throws that he missed, not because of a bad throw, but because he was expecting a receiver to sit or a receiver to keep going, and they just weren't on the same page. And again, it goes back to where we started at that practice piece. But do you think the Ravens are going to bounce back from this, or is Vegas actually a really good team?
I was gonna let Major go first.
Looked like he's over there thinking. Wheels are turning.
Not gonna lie, I'm over here hammering the Giants. I was goddamn. No bullshit. But the question is, was that a fluke, or I think the Raiders are better than the Ravens?
Yeah,
I think it has a lot to do with that home field, that crowd and that energy. I mean, they got Lil Jon in there, bro. They had numerous celebrities. There's so many different residencies out there. And I just think they had the crowd and the home environment lit. The commissioner was there. You got, Lamar Jackson, who's a young kid essentially playing on the West Coast. There's also all those distractions in Vegas. They're very easy to get lost if you're not from there.
Oh, man, Lamar, he hasn't been vaccinated, so he couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
You can go.
What you thinking, Parlay?
I think I think that was a tough loss to take. I kind of saw them losing that game simply because, kind of like he said, NFL full crowds are back. First game in Vegas. The Raiders, Gruden and Carr, they've got a lot of pressure on them to deliver something this year. 8-8's just not going to cut it. And so I think that them playing the Ravens in a big spot like Monday Night Football, it juiced the crowd up a lot more. It wasn't going to – I saw a lot of people when I was out there, with their Ravens gear, but it didn't appear like it was that many in the crowd. And so I do think that had something to do with it, but it was a semi-choke job too when you look at it. Once Derek Carr throws that interception in overtime, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm getting the O-line, I'm getting the receiving core, and I'm telling everybody, look, this game's either going to end in a tie or we're going to come down here and we're going to score these points. We're not giving the ball back to them would be the first thing I'd say. It was like 6 minutes left in overtime. They're not getting the ball back. They just fucked up. You know what I mean? We're about to run this clock. And, of course, ironically, he's the one that fumbles. And so they got a tough matchup this week against Kansas City. That's never a good matchup for them, in my opinion. I mean, the Chiefs aren't a good matchup for anybody, really, in the NFL. But certainly, I know that Patty's got Lamar's number, too. So it's going to be tough for them to dig it. 0-2 isn't as bad as everyone wants it to sound. But also, if you look at it, there's been 2 teams that have ever won the Super Bowl after starting 0-2, because it is kind of a whole. You've got to win 2 in a row just to get to 500. And I know that for them, they're in a division where they really can't afford to be taking L's like that, because it's probably going to take 12 wins. 12 wins wins that division. And even being in the AFC, now you've lost to another AFC team that's, going to be in that wild card hunt themselves this year. It just, that could come back to bite them by week 17.
Yeah, man, definitely. We didn't touch the Rams game. Personally, I don't have too much to say about it because I was on the road while the game was on. Do you have anything to add besides the fact that Matt Stafford just looks like a kid in a fucking candy store with Sean McVay? It's just like, I don't know if you heard his wife. His wife was like, yeah, Matt just seems much happier. He looked happier playing football than he has in the last 5 or 6 years.
He did
12 years in Detroit, and then he goes to LA. I mean,
yeah, no, he did. He looked a hell of a lot happier. You saw the way after he threw that first touchdown, the way that nigga skipped down the field. He was clearly, excited to be there. They lived up to it, even though the Bears defense didn't look like the Bears defense, the past few years, which has been a really good unit,
They lost their best corner.
Yeah, well, but we're talking about Cam Akers was out too for the Rams. They looked good. They looked the part. They looked like the Super Bowl contender that many people believe that they are. Now, do I think that Bears aren't play? I know they made the playoffs last year, but they're not a playoff team. Especially it was Andy
Dalton.
It was Andy Dalton. Yeah, I mean, so.
Well, did you see in the highlights how happy the players were when Fields threw the touchdown?
I don't think they're necessarily a playoff team with Fields either. He's got more potential than Dalton. So you might as well start somewhere.
I mean, I don't even know why Dalton's still in the league, if we're being honest. He's not. There are people that he's better than, but he should not be a week 1 starter on any type of team for any coach who wants to retain their job.
Unemployment season.
But hey, let's get into our week 2 preview. So to start off with the week 2 preview, who's going 0-2? My 2 teams right now are the Bills and the Ravens. Those are the 2 teams I see going 0-2. I think the Ravens, that's the chalk pick because they got the Chiefs, but I say the Bills go 0-2 because they got the Dolphins. Josh Allen turned back into Josh Allen, and I am high on the Dolphins winning the AFC East this year.
Not a bad call. Tua, I think it's always going to contend on the quarterback. And with a guy like Tua, we know that he doesn't necessarily do anything particularly well. He doesn't have a strong arm. He's mobile, but he's not mobile. He's basically really a game manager. Honestly, this isn't a guy that's going to go out there and win you games, in my opinion. But they've got a strong enough core kind of around him. I like Myles Gaskins a lot. You drafted Waddle. You're getting Will Fuller back this week. You already had Devontae Parker. I got Gesicki on my fantasy team. He had a solid year last year, even though he didn't do dog shit on Sunday. No catches. Gave me a big donut. So hopefully he goes off this week. And then the defense is pretty good with a guy like Flores as the coach. I mean, I thought it was impressive to get that win in New England, even if it was against a rookie quarterback. But we just know that New England put so much money into that team this year that you expected them to kind of come out and look a little bit better.
And Bill eats up young quarterbacks. So Tua being less than a full season starter, going and beating Belichick, that's something.
On the road.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Parlay, major Parlay, you got anybody going 0-2 that's unexpected?
Unexpected. Well, I'm going to get with you on the Bills then. And other than that, I don't know. I think the Vikings are expected to go 0-2. I think the Titans are expected to go 0-2. I got a team that's expected to go 0-2 that I don't think is going to go 0-2.
Who's that?
The Atlanta Falcons. Just write it down. I don't want to talk about it. Just write it down. We'll talk about it next week.
I like that. That got me excited. I mean,
I don't know what he's sipping on over there. And maybe I just need to come by and get some a little bit later because I cannot, even as a fan, I would love to see that happen. Falcons,
they owe Tom Brady something. It's the least expected outcome. And if this week is anything like last week, book it.
Hey, here's the argument for it, right? So that game was on in the 1 o'clock slot. I know on the West Coast, I talked to some friends on the West Coast, and that's the game that they were watching. We get embarrassed. We're like one of the worst looking teams in the league week 1, and grown men don't like being embarrassed. Usually teams that get blown out and they get talked about, they usually come back the next week and they win. Falcons plus 10.5. Take it.
Has it lowered to that yet?
Is it 12?
The last time I checked, it was 12.5.
Wow.
Sorry.
So yeah, people are definitely
12.5.
I love them at 14.
I'm just watching the Washington spread run away. It's gone from minus 175 where it started all the way to minus 210.
They're minus 210. They're gonna lose.
I'm telling you, bro. I lock my Giants bet in at plus 155.
I think I'm about to probably upload and put some money in here and see if I can get something out of that. I like the over 2 in that game.
All right, so I talked about the Ravens going 0-2, but do you think there's a chance for Lamar to finally beat Patrick Mahomes in a game? And if so, what does that game look like? Parlay Pete.
It looks like Patrick Mahomes turning the ball over, something he doesn't do very often. They changed up that offensive line. They got him some guys in there, Pro Bowler. Forgot his name from New England. They got Blythe from the Rams, who's been a pretty solid starter. They added these guys because everybody saw in the Super Bowl what the issue was. So it would have to be something similar to that. And then Lamar is going to have to ball the fuck out because, he didn't really do that last week. And so then they're going to have the advantage of having that crowd noise. Baltimore's got great fans. You know what I mean? So it would look something like that. It's going to have to be Patrick Mahomes on his back,
That game is in Baltimore.
Yeah, man. I don't see them winning, but I think that's what it would look like. They got to get their stuff together on defense, though. Like, you cannot zero blitz every single big third down. Like, I get it. The first 2 times it works, but eventually, Patrick Mahomes is gonna look at Tyreek Hill. He's just gonna do this. He's gonna give him the peace sign. And everybody gonna know what's happening. 80 yards later, touchdown, 14-0.
Well, and if they take a page out of the Raiders book, obviously they were force feeding Darren Waller.
That was disgusting to watch.
That was really just literally like
they were.
They couldn't stop it was also kind of disgusting.
Well, now you get Travis Kelce.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
in what universe I don't know, but I don't see it happening. I think that they're a bona fide 0-2 team.
Yeah, I just can't see you going cover 0 with Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Like, no, you're gonna need to double somewhere. That blitzing. You blitz to try to cover. To rush the passer, but I just don't see it happening. Jesus Christ, get your words together. So does Aaron Rodgers bounce back against the Lions, or do the knee-biting Lions of Detroit keep that offensive momentum going that they built up this past week despite losing?
For the sake of the people in Green Bay's mental health, Aaron Rodgers needs to bounce back for his own mental health too. Seriously.
Yeah, they're going to bounce back. They set this up. They set the schedule up because the thing is, we didn't know what was going to happen in that Saints game, but there was a chance that they could have lost, especially before the hurricane hit New Orleans. The thought is Saints got a great crowd too. And as much as it pains me to say it as a Falcons fan, they've got the best fans in the NFL, in my opinion. I've been to, a lot of stadiums, got to see a lot of shit. I think that the Saints have the best fans in the NFL. So you add that in. So the thought was it wasn't that surprising that they lost. I think it was surprising they got blown out, of course. But they'll bounce back. They set the schedule up to where these guys get – why are they playing the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football? Come on now. They're setting this up for this guy to have a fucking air raid.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a fucking air raid. Aaron Jones, he gonna get his numbers too. You know what I mean? Everybody gonna get a piece.
Man, I hope so for the sake of fantasy. I'm just looking at the schedule this week, and it's kind of a down week, man. I mean, we got in the 1 o'clock window, we got Bills Dolphins. It should be a good game. Maybe Rams and Colts. I don't know if the Colts are good. And let me see. We also got Raiders Steelers.
I like that one.
I don't know how I feel about that game.
I want to see if the Steelers are for real, and I want to see if the Raiders are for real. So I think that's a great matchup. You got the Raiders playing across the country away. The Steelers should win, but if the Raiders win that one, you know they're for real.
And the Steelers should be able to run the ball and get Najee Harris going because despite Baltimore's turnovers, they still had like 189 yards rushing for the game. So it's not like they didn't run the ball. Man, what if the Texans come out, the Houston professional Texans come out and give the Browns a run for their money?
Don't count on it. I don't count. I wouldn't, because to me the Browns aren't going to start 0-2 either. And if they do, let's give David Culley some credit, and Tyrod Taylor, obviously, who I think I saw you post something about Tyrod and kind of just the unfortunate breaks that this guy has had for like the last 7 years.
Yeah, man.
And if they do, good for them. I don't see it happening, but let's give David Culley and Tyrod Taylor the credit then. I mean,
are the Falcons and Buccaneers the Fox game of the week this week? Are we the game of the week on Fox this week against the Bucs?
It's a good question. I mean, I know it's a 4 o'clock game. I guess I'd have to look at the 4 o'clock slate. I think that that Seahawks game isn't Sunday night, is it?
No, it's on CBS though. Seahawks Titans on CBS. So I think it's us because it's either us and the Buccaneers or the Vikings versus the Cardinals. I don't think Kyler Murray and Kirk Cousins are getting the game of the week slot over Tom Brady, Matt Ryan rematch. I've been seeing them BS articles all week about, does the Super Bowl 28-3 have anything to do going into this matchup against Tom Brady? No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it didn't have shit to do with it. I'm certainly going to be tuning in. As of right now, I plan on going to the game. I'm kind of trying to finalize that now, but I actually plan on going to that game just because I've never been to Tampa before. So,
oh man, it's great. Ybor City, it's a great time. Let me tell you, I like Tampa. I'm gonna have to slip off down there pretty soon again.
And it's a steak restaurant I've heard a lot about down there too. It's got like one of the best wine lists or something like that. I don't know. I think it's called Burns. I think that's what it was called. But yeah, I'm looking forward to possibly getting down there and getting a good steak and seeing a Falcons upset, or at least definitely a Falcons cover.
All right, man. So speaking of upsets and covers, let's get to our week 1 report card. So last week we had Parlay Pete 6-pack, and we're going to start with our NFL 6-pack. We had Browns versus Chiefs under. How did we do there, Parlay Pete?
We lost. They scored a touchdown. Just all those goddamn turnovers. Yeah,
that Mahomes to Tyreek Hill 10-second pass that started the train that blew that under.
Green Bay on the money line. Tennessee money line and the over. Minnesota -3 and the Falcons and Eagles over. So
the only one that had a chance was the Minnesota -3. The rest of those were, I mean, and of course the overs in those games could have had a chance, but because the team that I picked on the money line didn't do shit, it wasn't going to get to go over. And so it was a rough week. I don't think I've ever went 0 for 7.
That was
0 for 6.
Week of football. But when you look at the stats, I don't think you can blame yourself because there's literally you can't expect 10 upsets out of 16 in a week.
No, you can't.
It's super counterintuitive. It would suggest that Vegas has no idea what they're doing. Like Vegas has some rookies writing the lines this week. But I actually think the opposite. I think Vegas knows exactly what they're doing. I think some of these lines are sucker lines. And this week, I'm going against them for that reason. All
right, man. So speaking of which, let's get to our week 2 bets. I'm looking at the slate right here. Are you all ready for the week 2 bets? Because I think that's what everybody comes here for anyways.
We're about as prepared as we can be. I'm looking at it right now, trying to put something together here.
So I'm just looking here, and we're going to get to some college football as well because we did much better on the college football picks. We went 3 for 3. We went 3 and 3 on the football picks. So I mean that's 500. So we're batting 500 in college.
A little bit easier to kind of do. Like I think I even said it last week that Georgia minus 23. It just made no sense to me. It made absolutely no sense. Even shout out to Stetson Bennett for redeeming himself for half a season last year. And let's give a no shout out to the Georgia fans. They were booing him when he got on, and you don't do that. I don't know why they would do that, knowing that they were going to kick UAB's ass. I get it. He sucked dick last year. He was a big part of the reason why they couldn't make that national championship or playoff push. And I don't know. And that's why I'm so glad he came out there and balled out too. Tied the school record, or he got the school record for most touchdown passes in a game by Georgia quarterback with 5. And he sat the whole fourth quarter.
Like if he's on the field at this point, why are we booing him? It's a brand new season. We're playing UAB. It's not like he threw 6 picks, pulled a Nathan Peterman against Georgia Tech after an undefeated season, and we're like, what? We just lost to Tech,
right?
It's like it's UAB. We're gonna win. Y'all got that 6-pack ready, or do I need to keep talking?
Oh no, I'm ready.
Let Major Parlay go first.
I always got some bets ready.
All right, let's hear Major Parlay's picks.
What I'm going to start with is basically picks that you wouldn't expect, or it would be popular to go against. So I'm gonna do more or less a couple counterintuitive. You guys already know I got the Giants on the money line, and I'm a Washington football team fan. I'm just watching this line run away, and after going off the first week, I'm spending a couple dollars just betting the numbers, really. So the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Chargers. They got the Chargers favored at minus 180. And I feel like people are definitely overreacting to how good the Cowboys played against the Buccaneers. And I feel like people should be all over this Cowboys line at plus 155, plus 3.5. You would expect the Cowboys to win this game flat out because the Chargers didn't show you anything that makes you know what I'm saying? I can't even think about anything the Chargers did.
Well, warrant them even being minus 180 against the Cowboys coming off a game where they did look good.
But this is I'll say this is an odd line to me. I'm just going to point these lines out and say that this line is odd. And not saying that you should necessarily bet against it, but I'm trying my luck betting against some of these odd lines this week. So do I believe that I should take the Chargers minus 180 in a perfect world? No. But I'm going to take the Chargers minus 180 on that money line. I believe I think everybody's got the Bills dialed up money line. Bills dialed up minus 3.5. I'm not as confident in Miami taking the whole game, but I do see at least an upset on the spread. And then the last one I have here is the Chicago Bears. I think the Bengals played a great game against the Vikings, and I think everybody's going to be dialing up the Bengals on this one. I think the public's going to be all over the underdog Bengals, and I think the Bears are going to somehow, some way come through. So I don't know how many that was. That might have been 4. You can throw the Falcons plus 12.5 on there. That's a lock. Because, I mean, I think the Falcons will come through money line. But you can throw them 12.5 on there.
All right. So we got Major Parlay's picks. Are we ready for Parlay Pete's 6-pack?
We are. I've got it right here. All right. I'm going to kick off with my favorite line of the week, and that's the Green Bay Packers minus 11. I do expect them to fully come out and whip their ass. And then let's not forget the 49ers were up 38-10 in the third quarter on the Lions, and they let them backdoor cover at that. If you got the final, if you got
Kelsey on the hands team fumbling a ball.
Yeah, and the Lions ended up backdoor covering, but I don't see that happening in Green Bay on Monday night. Aaron Rodgers thrives in big games. In these type of settings, and so especially against the Detroit Lions, come on now. So let me take that Packers minus 11. Next game, I love this Titans Seahawks over 54. The Titans are going to score some more points. They're going to score some more points, and I expect Russ to come out there slinging that rock against that terrible defense. I love that over 54. I think that it's a great bet, especially at the -110. It's not like it's one of those -125 bets. It's pretty good value there. Third game, I love the Falcons. And even though the line has went down, I'm going to still run with it. I would buy the 1.5. I originally was going to get it at 14.5, but now that's impossible unless I do an alternative spread. So just going straight off what Vegas has right now, I'll still take the Falcons to cover that plus 12.5. I think that they're going to look a lot better than what we saw. And even if you just kind of go off of what happened last year, they were beating the shit out of the Bucks in the game here. They were up 17 points, and in true Falcons fashion, they blew the lead. And so they were handedly beating them. And then the very next week gave Kansas City all they could handle. Young Waku missing a potential to send the thing into overtime, and AJ Terrell dropping the interception that would have sealed the game in general.
Yeah.
So, and then the following week after that, played Tampa again. We're tied up at halftime, and then got blown out in the second half. But those are the two Super Bowl representatives last year, and the Falcons played them pretty well with what's pretty much the same cast of guys back. I expect them to cover that number. I'm with JP on this too. I love the Cowboys money line. I just don't see a world where Justin Herbert comes out and they outscore the Cowboys. I just don't see it happening that way. From an on paper standpoint, you look at Tampa's D. Some people thought Tampa had one of the best defenses in the NFL. They were lighting them up. And Dak is, in fact, back. I can say that with JP's fantasy trade, that there was some value, even though Patrick Mahomes had the highest quarterback total, too, in week 1. But whatever there, I guess.
He wasn't playing the number 1 defense, but you got it.
He's playing some guy. Look,
he wasn't
playing
Myles
Garrett coming off the edge.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he wasn't playing number 2, 3, 4, 5. He wasn't playing the number 1 defense.
Dak looked good. Hammer the. I love. That's probably my favorite money line of the week, which is why it's on here.
But let me just say, I went the opposite of you on that one. I'm not going to interrupt your six pack, but I just because I think everybody's going to hammer that. Why That's the free candy on the van right there, bro. I'm telling you.
Sometimes I just got to be proven wrong. I'll be hard headed about it.
You specifically said I can't see a world in which Justin Herbert comes out, blah blah blah, right? But could you see a world in which Aaron Rodgers comes out week 1 and has a better passer rating, spiking the ball every play?
No,
I'm just saying. I'm just putting it in perspective for you. But
but look at it this way: that was probably Aaron Rodgers' worst game of his career, too. Which is even more the reason why they're going to steam the lines this week. Because he heard the talk and he had to address it. I think he blamed one of those interceptions on him getting hit in the nuts or something like that. But he did. That's what he said. But anyways, still love the Cowboys in that spot. Zeke didn't even get loose against the Bucks. So he's going to have to break through eventually, unless Zeke's done. But I like Tony Pollard anyways. That guy.
Well, they got to commit to the run and actually call running plays so Zeke can get his motor going.
Yeah, what did he get, 6 carries? If it was under 10, this was ridiculous.
It felt like Tony Pollard definitely had more yards than him and was getting just better usage, more positive yards every time he touched the ball. Next.
I do like I'm going to let you finish. Because I was the over in that Dallas Cowboys Chargers game.
It's crazy. What is
55, but it's got to go over. Who's playing defense?
Not the Cowboys.
James.
But no, next in my 6-pack, give me the and I love this pick too. Give me the under 50 in the 49ers Eagles game. I don't see the points getting scored there. San Francisco coming from the West Coast to go to Philly. Jalen Hurts is going to come back down to earth, so he's not going to be torching Nick Bosa. He's not going to be evading these guys. The Eagles are going to probably try and establish the run because I don't believe they're going to have too much success throwing the ball on them. And vice versa. We know that Kyle Shanahan loves to open up his offense through running the ball. That's what sets him up. And even though he doesn't have Mostert now,
Trey Sermon, baby.
Well, Elijah Mitchell, that, which is so crazy. I don't think Trey's their guy. I think that Elijah Mitchell definitely is their guy. They were both. I didn't realize he was a rookie, and he was drafted in the 6th round, and they healthy scratched Trey Sermon. That's a bad sign to me. But either way, love the under there. See something like at best, 24-21-ish, maybe. And then for the final beer in this 6-pack, give me the Buffalo Bills. I'm drinking it. I'm going to roll with Bills Mafia going to Miami, covering that -3.5. I think it's great value. I don't think that Josh Allen is the Josh Allen we saw against Pittsburgh. And I think that, he's going to go down there. He's going to ball out. And their running game, for what it's worth, their running game looked a little bit better too.
Indeed, it did. So
than last
just
year.
to recap, for major parlays picks, we got Giants money line, Chargers money line, Miami +3.5, the Bears money line, Falcons +12.5, and the over in the Cowboys and Chargers game.
Sounds like a nice 6 to me.
Major parlays picks. Parlay Pete 6-pack. Green Bay -11. Titans Seahawks over 54. Falcons +12.5.
Yep.
Cowboys money line. Under and the 49ers versus the Eagles game. And
Under
the Bills -3.5. Under 50.
Yeah, under 50.
Under 50. 49ers, Eagles, and Bills -3.5 to cover against the Dolphins.
You got it.
I just want to go on
$1,000 on
record
that.
as saying that most of my picks are counterintuitive, but last week most of my picks were very similar with Parlay Pete, and our 6-pack did go 0 for 6, right? So with intentions of winning, all right, I'm being a little counter. I'm seeing where I messed up last week. And last week, I think that Titans versus Cardinals line was a sucker line when you think about it. They're getting Julio Jones, all this stuff. Line never moved. They kept it right there. It moved at the very end with a lot of Cardinals money at the very end. But most of that line stayed the same. Same with the Green Bay line. I thought that once they determined Aaron Rodgers was going to say that line should have went. Like when I got that +3 Saints locked in earlier, like I had that locked in when Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to play. And I was like, yeah, I got that locked in time. Whole situation changed. Line didn't change. Some of the stuff I don't know if Vegas knows something we don't or what it is, but a lot of my bets are counterintuitive. I'll just say that.
So here's how I look at it. I don't think they can start judging us until week 4, week 5, once the season settles down, because Vegas doesn't have this thing figured out yet. So when you got 10 underdogs winning, that doesn't make Vegas happy. So it takes time.
Well, when most of the money's on the favorite, maybe it does. Because if you start to look at the handles of these games, the Titans handle was over 90%. Green Bay's handle was over 90%. Like you got handles where it's all the public's going one way. So how does Vegas win?
Because the public sucks.
San Francisco spread's my favorite one. Public was all over that -8.5. And you're telling me in 2 minutes, the 2-minute backdoor cover, 2 touchdowns, an onside kick, and a 2-point conversion in a 2-minute drill.
That is right.
Outside of Madden and even in Madden, man. You got to be playing rookie Madden for that to happen.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Kittle's fumbling the ball. That's the person that fumbles the ball too. I mean, it's just
You can't make it up.
Nah.
Literally. I mean, or can't.
All right, so we got a little bit of time left. Pierce, let's talk about our Falcons, because kickoff is at 8:20?
I believe so. Are they doing it? They're streaming it again to where it's going to be on Fox, NFL Network, and Amazon Prime.
I have no idea.
I'm currently I can't even find the pregame on my TV. Kind of upset. I'm not looking too hard.
All right, man. So Parlay Pete and I, we went to the Falcons game because we have signed our life over to them by buying these season tickets. We're real fans.
Nobody can say that we have commitment issues. We are committed.
Yeah, I'm telling you, all in. So if I love you, that means I'm here for you, baby. But anyways, so we go to the game and I won't say high expectations. Yeah, I'll say I had high expectations for our offense. Didn't know what to think about our defense. And I was like, Arthur Smith, we're going to get the running game going. We're going to abuse him with Kyle Pitts, and Calvin Ridley's going to pick up where he left off. Matt Ryan still has a little juice left in the tank. He's obviously on the down end of the prime, but he's still Derek Carr level, right? And first 2 drives we stall, and I go, same old Falcon shit.
But then you were like, you know what? But they are moving the ball pretty easy, and the run game definitely looked really good in the first quarter.
Cordell Patterson's our best running back, number 84.
I hope not. I've got Mike Davis on my fantasy team, former Stevenson Jaguar. Shout outs to Stevenson.
We also got Matt Ryan on there.
And I've got Matt Ryan, correct. So the thought is with Matt
no commitment issues.
The thought is with Matt Ryan and Mike Davis, every touchdown is going to be mine because either Matt's going to throw it or Mike's going to run it in.
But what if they don't score them?
And how many touchdowns were there last week?
You lose in fantasy. that's what the hell happens. You lose in fantasy. Let me just, kind of look at this one way. I remember the first drive when we got down there. I think it was either the 2 or the 3. One of them was the 2-yard line. The other was the 3. Get down there. The first thing my brother Justice says to me is, "Where's Kyle Pitts?" I looked out. I said, Pitts is out there. And then I'm looking. I'm like, no, he's not out there. So it's like, okay, it's first down, no Pitts. All right. Then we do this bullshit throw to the flats to Mike Davis. I just didn't understand. I'm just like, man, why aren't we throwing the ball? And Calvin really was pretty good about getting in the end zone too, last year and the year before that, because obviously Julio doesn't score touchdowns, right? So Calvin's kind of good. And granted, he's going to get that number 1 attention now, but it's like, okay, no Kyle Pitts. Then second down, no Kyle Pitts. Then third down, no Kyle Pitts. And it's just like, is he hurt? You know what I mean? Like, what did we draft him for? Why does the social media team hype up this guy has the longest wingspan in NFL history? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's 6'6", he's a fucking gazelle, runs a fucking 4.4 flat. Like, you know what I mean? And nowhere to be found.
I'm starting to think we're already regret not taking Justin Fields, because either Kyle Pitts wasn't doing what he was expected to do in training camp, or he's hurt. Because you would regularly look on the field and not see him. You would see Hayden Hurst. Oh, yeah, Hayden Hurst is here. I regularly would see Hayden Hurst. I didn't see much Kyle Pitts at all.
He was on the field 68% of the snaps. That needs to change. He needs to be on the field pretty much every play except for punt. And, if we're trying to get a 1-yard play, even though he did pick up a 1-yard play.
Here's the thing. We still need him on the field because you want that threat of him as a pass catcher.
Right. And I'm not sure how great of a blocker he is. But I'm just saying, like, in that type of scenario, let's say it's 2nd and 1 and you're going to run the power, a power run with Davis or something.
No, we're going to run that on 3rd and 8.
Which they picked up. They fucking picked up one too. Did you remember Cordell Patterson?
Yeah.
They ran a ball on like 3rd and 9, and he picked up the first and then some. It was crazy.
It was just really confusing because full disclosure, I did not watch the Titans every single week. There were just usually better games for me to watch. So I just couldn't get a feel for Arthur Smith's play calling at all throughout the game. Like a lot of it just didn't make sense. Like I said earlier, our longest completed pass was a 19-yard pass. I don't remember Matt Ryan throwing a deep ball all game.
He didn't. There were no deep balls. And I was just, the entire time I'm kind of sitting there, I'm like, okay, we got the running game cooking on these first 2 drives. When are we going to do this deep ball play action pass that Arthur Smith was pretty much known for? Because that's how Tannehill was getting a lot of his stats, playing off Derrick Henry on the play action. And I understand Mike Davis isn't half the running back that Derrick Henry is, but you got the running game going. I never understood why they didn't do it. And I wasn't sure if, are these all strictly play calls by him? Is Matt changing? What's going on? You know what I mean? It just was kind of confusing from that standpoint. And then of course, which I kind of said before we got on air, after the Falcons' first 2 drives, they had 10 drives after that. They totaled 77 yards. Are you kidding me?
Matt was less than 5 yards per play.
And I think that out of those 10, 6 of them were 3 and out. Like,
bro, it was hard.
It was ugly.
It was a hard watch. It was really hard to watch, man. Arthur, you just got to get it together, dude. Like, we could have kept Raheem. We could have drafted Justin Fields. If you're going to come out here and lay eggs on offense, you're supposed to be an offensive coach. I get it. First game as a head coach. Maybe there's some jitters there. OC, I think it's his first game as a play caller. Maybe there's some jitters there. But I mean, we thought there's some people who thought we're going to be a 10-11 win team, and right now we're looking like a 10-11 loss team.
Yeah, both.
There were people who thought you guys were going to win 10 or 11 games.
Cousin Sal and Bill Simmons both thought. Cousin Sal said 12 wins. He thought they could win 11 or 12 games, and Bill Simmons took the over on the 7.5 and thought that they would be a playoff team.
Yeah.
And so
Cowherd put us in the playoffs too, and people listen to their bets.
Yeah, because he switched his on the day before the season started and said, "Give me the Falcons 9-8 in second place in that division and battling for that last wild card." So, it's just the Falcons being the Falcons, man. I don't know why I let them do this to me, but but I do.
You didn't have a 3.5 hour drive back to Albany, just like, this is what we did. But hey, let's close out with a little bit of college football talk. Cause you got a college football 6-pack ready?
I do. I most definitely do.
I got nothing for you on the college football, man.
Hey, I don't blame you. I don't bet on those kids either.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let it be known that I lost $1,500 last week on
Notre Dame
first half. I mean, versus Toledo. I'm gonna leave. I'm not touching the college football.
You definitely got to wait to the mid season into the playoffs for college football, man, because it's just so hit and miss. So big week in college football. You got Ohio State getting upset by Oregon. I think Oregon is showing who was that? Utah and UCLA are trying to bring the Pac-12 back to prominence with the way they've built their teams through the trenches, like an SEC team. You have Florida State getting upset by Jacksonville State, and we thought Florida State was back. Yeah, right.
That shit was unreal.
And then we got Sark. We got Sark getting his introduction to SEC football and getting his ass kicked. Oh man, we better watch out for him because he might need to learn from his lessons. Put the bottle down, Sark. So man, I still don't have a good grasp of what college football is going to look like this year. I mean, Georgia looks like we're going to be good, but we'll see. Clemson, I don't know what they are yet with DJ. Alabama looks like Alabama, but are they really going to go back to back? And
that's where the money should go. If you're betting on anyone in college football, it's got to be them.
And, I mean, we got Ohio State who blew one. What happens if Penn State comes out this week and beats Auburn convincingly and makes a push for the Big Ten? I don't know, but I think the most important college football story is the USC vacancy because Clay Helton got the fuck up out of here.
Should have been fired. That guy should have been fired like 2 years ago.
Bro, if they fire him last year, they have Urban Meyer right now because he was in LA at the time. Like, and he doesn't have to go down to Jacksonville and ruin Trevor Lawrence's first 3 years in the NFL.
Well, and not to mention, God, so harsh. Not to mention,
built for the big leagues.
Not to mention, who was Urban working with out there in LA on Fox? Who's he working with?
Bob Stoops? No. Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush. Sorry, Bob Stoops' job.
He would have He would have fit in perfectly and would have been right there. And then I know that you're kind of leaning towards this, and then we got to get into who we think can take the job. And the man that replaced Urban Meyer on that set, Bob Stoops, would be the perfect fit for USC. They're getting a name coach, a guy that's won a national championship, was super. I didn't even realize how consistent he was. You know that like in a 18-year span, or it was like 16 or 17-year span, that man won 12 Big 12 titles. Like, that's unheard of. That's unbelievable when you really look at it. And at first I was kind of saying, he's kind of like Mark Richt, but with a national championship. No, he's a hell of a lot better than Mark Richt. Mark Richt only won 2 SEC titles in his time in Georgia. Stoops would be the perfect fit. He's not too old. He's an older school coach, but if you're trying to get a name that is out there that's not, on another team, I think that they should go with Stoops.
I like Bieniemy, and I know I got some pushback in the group text, but here's why I like Bieniemy. He brings that NFL flair to USC, and I'm stealing some of this from Cowherd. What was Pete Carroll? He's the NFL guy.
Kyle Gessel.
He can. I don't think he have any problems recruiting just from like he's a Southern California guy. He's Coach Patrick Mahomes, and as long as he builds the right staff, he can go to USC and be there as long as he wants to. And then if he wants to go to the league from there, he can pick his job. Because one of the things about the NFL is it's hard to get a good NFL job. It's hard to get a good NFL owner when, especially for these black coaches, like you go to a tire fire with a crazy owner and a GM who's going to get fired a year after they hire you. So then a new GM is going to come in and be ready to fire you for the quickest thing, and they don't give you time to turn around the place. You get to USC, they're going to give you 3 years to bring your people in, build up the program. And once you got your guys, once you got that factory moving, you're there as long as you want to be there. USC is better than over half of the NFL jobs, if we're being honest. You're going to get the same pay. You got the appeal of Southern California to get those recruits. And like I said, if you have a top recruiter on your staff, you're there forever. Pete left. Why? Because of the sanctions and stuff, not because he couldn't win. It's just like Saban. Once you get that factory moving, Chip Kelly, once you get that factory moving, it's just wash, rinse, and repeat. In the name of USC, people are going to want to go there while they're good.
Yeah, and I think that they would want to get it back to looking like it did, in that run with Bush and Leinart, Carson Palmer too, a little bit before them, where Snoop Dogg is on the sidelines. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, it looked like a Lakers game almost. And so I think it's definitely a terrific job because these jobs don't open up like that. You know what I mean? Your Ohio State, because when we're talking brands in college football, there's like 5 that are just, no matter what they are, always going to be a brand. USC is one of them. And so, like you said, from a location standpoint, it's not a college town. You're in Tinseltown. You're with LeBron, AD, and Russ. You got all these other winners kind of around you.
And LeBron has no problem. LeBron has no problem pitching his trailer to a bandwagon college team. And come on, Drake in a USC jersey on the sidelines, he probably got one waiting. So they say James Franklin's a candidate. If you listen to his interview, it sounds like
he's not saying that he won't. Either that or Penn State's going to have to pay him again. They got to give him more money to stay.
Brian Kelly, maybe.
I think he likes the Notre Dame job is one of those jobs too. And, I'd rather live in California than South Bend, but it is still Notre Dame. And, the luxury that they have is that they're not in a conference either, So that job, I don't know. The Notre Dame job is a special job. I've never been, but from what Justice told me, he went to a game because one of his buddies played at Notre Dame. He said it's crazy. It's crazy just being up there, the allure of Notre Dame. And obviously they've got high academic standards. I don't think Kelly would leave.
I don't know. You got anything here with Major Parlay?
On the college sports, not college football.
All right, y'all. So thanks for this show.
Nothing good to say about Notre Dame either.
We're missing one thing before we sign off. Let me give you the 6-pack.
Sorry, I love to make fun of Hardball. Oh yeah, let me get your college football 6-pack before I go on my Cam Newton rant.
All right, this one is piping hot, boys. Give me the Alabama first quarter spread, -3.5. Easy money against Florida. They're going to blow doors on them. Florida is not good. Emory Jones is not good. They're just not on the same field as Alabama. And I get it. It's going to be in the swamp. There's going to be a lot of, gator clapping. It's going to be all
gator bait.
But they're going to get that ass tore into to start that game. And certainly, I think 3.5 is more than a reasonable number to lay. And after the Miami game, they had Alabama by 6.5 against Miami in week 1. And I took it, beat the shit out of them in that. I think they were up 14-0 or something like that. I don't see a scenario where Alabama doesn't score a touchdown and Florida can't score a touchdown. Alabama, at a minimum, will get 7. And at a max, Florida gets 3. That still covers. Give it to me. I'll take that 3.5. Another one, easy money, first quarter. Give me Clemson -7 against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech lost at home against Northern Illinois. This is Clemson's first real game since the Georgia game because I don't know who they played last week, and I don't think anyone does. So, but they beat the hell out of them because it was, it was a game that they paid for. They paid them to whoop that ass. They finally get their ACC schedule kicked off. Give me that -7. At worst, it'll be a push. At worst. But give me the -7. Next game. I know that Texas is on a lot of people's shit list after what they did last week, but they're playing Rice for Christ's sake. And they changed the quarterback, which they should have been starting this kid from the get-go. I don't know why Sark didn't start him because he's the guy that closed out for Ellinger last year and looked great in the bowl game. He looked electric. That guy can play. Plus, he came in against Arkansas and scored 2 touchdowns once they did put him in. Give me Texas on -26 against Rice. Next one, another big spread. Just not a believer in Nebraska after what they did to me in week 1. I just couldn't fucking believe that they couldn't beat Illinois. It really did blow my mind. Give me Oklahoma -22.5 against Nebraska. I think that Spence is going to get out there. He's going to be playing a little pitch and catch. And they're going to want to make a statement against their old Big 12 rival. Next one, give me the under in the Auburn at Penn State game. They've got it set at 53. This is going to be a defensive war. Neither of these teams scream points. And I just don't see a scenario where Bo Nix is just slinging on Penn State. Penn State's going to have the whiteout going. This is like their first whiteout in a minute, obviously, because they didn't have fans last year. Crowd's going to be electric. Give me that under 53. And then my final one, I'm hopping right back on the bandwagon. They're just going to have to prove me wrong. Purdue at Notre Dame. Give me Notre Dame -6.5. I believe that they're going to cover that spread and win by a touchdown at home against Purdue. Purdue is known for Boilermakers and engineers, not fucking football teams. Notre Dame, football is what they're known for. I expect them to bounce back after having a scare last week against Toledo, and they should cover that with ease.
All right, so just to recap for Parlay Pete's college football six-pack, we got Alabama -3.5 first quarter. Clemson -7 first quarter. Texas to cover -26.
Yep.
Oklahoma to cover -22.5. Auburn versus Penn State under 53. And Notre Dame to cover at -6.5.
Yep. And that's at plus 5,000 odds, guys. So you do the math. $100 gets you $5,000.
Good money.
All right, man. Thank you guys so much. Really enjoyed it. We'll recap in the group text. I'll clip the videos and have them ready to run tomorrow morning.
For sure. It was a pleasure.
All right, dog. I'll see y'all.
Always a pleasure. I appreciate it again.
No problem.
All right.
All right. So the last thing I want to talk about here, man, is Cam Newton's interview. I know I'm about a week late, but hey, this is when I record football. So this is where we're talking about it. So Cam Newton came out on his YouTube channel and had his Keep It Funky Fridays or something like that. It was he and his father discussing some stuff that he had going on. And I really appreciated what Cam had to say. It was nice to hear him speak his truth and kind of provide an explanation on some of the things that happened. I think he was very honest with us, and I thought it showed a side of Cam that not many people get to see. You got to see him and his father just, kick it and have a conversation that they would likely have off camera. And that's where the issue comes. It was on camera. And when you have these conversations on camera, you broadcast them to the world. And I'm all about being authentic to who you are and being unapologetically yourself, but I also understand the risks that come with that if you want to work in a given industry. And again, Cam himself was very professional. He didn't say anything bad, anything negative about the Patriots experience. He talked about kind of understanding that they were, giving the reins to Mac. It was just slowly but surely. He explained the whole COVID miscommunication. It really wasn't a miscommunication. They just allowed him to go do that. And what happened because they already had their mind made up. And for Cam to come out and say, hey, who I was in that locker room, my presence, my aura, being something that could stunt Mac Jones's growth, it's real. I believe that, and I think it's true. And I'm happy that he said that because let's just keep it funky. We're keeping it funky on Friday. We're going to keep it funky that Mac Jones didn't need that in his life if he wanted to take over and be the leader of the Patriots. But let's get to the issues. Let's get to the Cam's father kind of, taking shots at the Patriots for how they handled it. And, you have parents, and parents have opinions. Parents care about their kids. But let's be real. Parents aren't always objective. And I think this was the failure here by Cam's father by not being objective. And again, what does he have to lose in this? Not much. And do I think they did anything wrong? No, not per se, but understand who you're talking to. And I remember listening to Colin Cowherd, and they talked about this past Friday. And he was like, I don't like that. And here's the thing. I don't really care if Colin likes it or not. He's not a decision maker. But he fits the demographic of the decision makers in the NFL. So I am inclined to believe that if he's not a fan of something like that, the owners and the GMs aren't a fan of something like that. The question becomes, well, Cam, are you and your dad going to call us out when you leave from our organization if it doesn't work out? And sometimes I think that people have good intentions, but their methods aren't always the best. And so I'm like, Cam, be careful. If you want to play here now, same thing I said with Kaepernick. If you want to play in this league, you have to understand that you can't bite the hand that may feed you. Now, if I don't know your pockets. I don't know where your passion lies. You say you're better than, there's not 32 quarterbacks better than you. I believe that. I believe that you were going to be a much improved quarterback this year, another year removed from your surgery. The preseason doesn't do you justice because you're not a running threat in the preseason. So I hope that Cam gets a call. I hope that, Ron Rivera comes to his senses and say, hey, Cam, come on back. But if Cam doesn't get a call, I honestly won't be shocked. I won't be surprised because, you called out, your dad called out one of the best organizations in football. And I think this conversation was very appropriate. Even some of the racial undertones involved in, I thought they were very appropriate. And I was happy that some of that stuff came out because I think those conversations need to happen. So like I say, Big Baby, the GOAT, loves it. But somebody who wants to see Cam play football again, I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. But again, I'm not Cam. He's not me. So best of luck to Cam. I hope to see you on a Sunday in a few weeks. We out of here.